Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We are going to go ahead and get that waiting room open in just a moment. We're also going to be starting to broadcast live on Facebook. We're super excited to have you guys here today. So give us just a moment while we get our technical pieces working here. Thank you guys for being patient. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are letting everyone out of the waiting room. We're going to go ahead and mute you on your way in. I want to thank you all for being here this evening. We're going to get started in just a moment. It is 6:01. David, how you doing, sir?
How are you?
I am doing good, thank you. Good to see you. All right.
Good to see you.
We are going to get started in just a moment. We're going to go ahead and broadcast this live on Facebook, and we're going to also try to do it on YouTube at the same time. We'll see if that works or not. Let's see. And we are going to be recording this session as well. All right, everyone. So we are live on Facebook, and we will be on Facebook throughout the evening. We are also going to try to get us onto YouTube here in just a moment using the power of Zoom. We'll see if that works. Apparently we can only do one at a time. So we will be on Facebook Live. We are recording this session. So thank you guys again, everyone, for being here this evening. We are going to be teaching you this evening how to do two things: how to file your Cook County Homeowners Exemption form, and also discussing property tax appeal resources. And we have the wonderful attorney David Frank with us, who is going to be speaking with us in a little bit about more of the appeal process and how that works. But I'm going to show you some things on the way in. And again, this is being recorded, so you can discuss with your loved ones and with your relatives how you can get your homeowner's exemption filed and potentially go back a couple of years, up to 5 years now, and electronically file for that homeowner's exemption. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, and it is, excuse my browser window of frights. It's Tuesday evening. So thank you again to everyone for being here on behalf of all of us at Exit Strategy Realty and Project X. We have got some really cool things we are working on right now. And one of those things is this engagement out to the community, both the community at large and then the realtor community. We're going to be back with the realtor Thursday, showing green and renewable housing resources. But tonight we're talking about homeowners exemptions, property taxes, all the different resources we have for that. And the rule in Cook County, we have an attorney friend who's going to be speaking with us later that's going to know a lot more about this than me. But from my standpoint, the important thing to note, and I am screen sharing now, is that after your first full year in a residence, so I tonight am in my residence in Lakeview. I have lived here for a number of years, but after your first full year that you are in your residence, you can file for your homeowner's exemption for the first time. And it hopefully will stay with the property year after year. Now, I actually went in the process of doing an exercise with this with a client of mine recently, which is how we got onto this engagement series exercise tonight anyway, in the first place, was we were filling out their homeowner's exemption form, and I was showing them how to do it using myself as an example. And I realized that all of a sudden mine had dropped off. And so things like that can happen from time to time. So it's always smart to go ahead and start by checking to see if you have your homeowner's exemption in the first place. So everybody always races to talk about property tax appeals. Let's start with the baseline of homeowners exemptions, because at Exit Strategy Realty, our mission is obviously to get more people into houses and to revitalize and build our communities, but we also want to protect your home once you're in it, and that includes saving money and having the ability to save on property taxes and any exemptions that we can show you how to do. So I think that's our duty as an industry. So one of the things that we have launched to help you with that, we've got Zen List, which will help you get access to more properties on the way in. But then once you are with us, you have that lifetime client concierge portal where we can take your closing statement, which is going to have your property PIN number. We're going to be talking about that in a second. Your closing statement is a very key piece of information. And so that piece of information can go right into your lifetime client concierge portal. So if you don't already have that set up, talk to your Exit Strategy Realty agent and they will set that up for you. And then, or you can actually go ahead, hopefully if they've got it set up on their Zen List, Zen Link, they can set that up on their own, your consumers can. So we're going to go ahead and get going with the homeowner's exemption role. So what is a homeowner's exemption? Well, Cook County does want to give you a credit in essence for owning and occupying the property as your primary residence, your principal place of ownership. And the sad thing is that I feel like everyone's in such a rush to get into their home that once they're in their home, maybe their realtor forgets, maybe they forget, maybe everybody forgets to go and after your first full year of residence, file for this homeowner's exemption, because this is a credit that you will get against your taxes. And so a lot of us have to play catch up. And so, for example, I moved into my place. I was so excited to get it. Even being a realtor and a coach, I forgot to do it. I had to go back and appeal. It used to be that you had to go down to Cook County, and David, you may remember this, and go down and file that physical piece of paper. But now they allow you to do it online. But where do you even begin? What is my PIN number? All that good stuff. So at your closing, you would have gotten your closing statement and your Exit Strategy Realty agent, or if you are joining us later, or you're seeing this video later, your friend at Exit Realty, the Exit Strategy Realty, can show you your PIN number, find your PIN number for you. That PIN number is going to identify you and your property that you reside in. And once you have that PIN number in front of you, you will be able to see, do I even have that homeowner's exemption already filed? So that PIN number is going to be located on your property tax bill. If you've gotten that number with a bunch of dashes on it, they do have a nice little video on the cookcountyassessor.com website under the homeowner exemption page. So under the exemptions page, homeowner exemption, there are some decent instructions. But I'm here tonight to kind of get you to those instructions and encourage you to do this, because what a lot of us are finding is it's now 2024. We have people that purchased in 2022, 2021, 2020. During COVID, they weren't thinking of homeowners exemptions. You can go back and file now up to 5 years. So if your home was eligible for the homeowners exemption for the past tax years 2022, 2021, 20, 19, 18. So that's 5 total years. You can get an exemption. I actually went through and did this exercise with a friend of mine. It's very easy to do. I'm going to go ahead and click this button. It's going to take you in this screen share, and then you will create a username and a login. It's going to ask you for some basic information. One of the basic pieces of information it's going to ask you for copy of your driver's license, a utility bill, something to show that you have proof of residence there. They're going to probably ask you for your closing statement, something like that. You would want to get all of that ready. And that's another reason why we enjoy our lifetime client concierge portal, which you will want to go ahead and get that. So you have all your storage documents in the cloud. So you've got that access to those later on and for perpetuity, because all of these tools that we give you, like Zenlist, like that concierge app, are free for the lifetime of your home and that relationship. So we're excited about that. But now we want to go in and say, okay, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to apply for my current exemption. So how do I do that? So that is going to be in early spring. If you haven't done it yet, because they don't have the form out yet, you're going to want to basically wait for our next training on this, because we're going to go ahead and do another one of these to remind you, hey, now it's time to actually go ahead and file for the coming years. But a lot of us, a lot of our clients, if we're in real estate and you're watching this video later, or if you are the homeowner, you're realizing that you did not get your homeowner's exemption in the first place. So let's check and see if you've actually even got your homeowner's exemption in the first place. So let's go ahead and put in a PIN number. Actually, I have to put in one of those silly little CAPTCHAs, they call it. So I have a client of mine that actually is asking me to do this for him tonight. So we are going to go ahead and see if he is eligible at this point. So my friend Shadi, who is, I believe, going to be joining us shortly on the Zoom here, he has a property that he bought with me in 2022. So the rule is you have to be there 1 full year. So it is now 2024. So he could have filed for 2023. He did not yet. I believe he believes he did not yet either. We're going to go ahead and get his PIN number. So again, if it was on your closing statement, he has his Move Easy or his Live Easy Concierge, his lifetime client portal set up through Exit Strategy Realty, hopefully, and he has his closing statement in there. If not, we can get that set up for him. But then we have this PIN number that we're going to go ahead and find for him. So let's go ahead and get that PIN number out of here and into the actual portal and see what the status of that exemption is. So give me 1 second and I'm going to cut and paste that PIN number. All right, so let's see if there's any exemptions on this property. No homeowner's exemption, no senior exemption. Doesn't look like that is anything's been filed. So it is time for him to go ahead and file that. This is where you would want to then get that certificate. You can download your tax bill from the same area. And you can update your mailing address if for some reason you've got any sort of issue with your mailing address. But most of us, because we are filing our homeowner's exemption, we are in that actual property. We are having our tax bills mailed to that house. So there are no certificates of error at this point because there's no exemption yet at this point. So we are going to go ahead and go back in here. And again, it is not ready yet for the 2023. If you want to go and file the certificate of error for 2022 or any other past years, you would click that button right here and apply online. You're going to need a copy again of your driver's license or some sort of electric bill, utility bill, something showing that you live in the residence. And they will walk you through step by step. There is a small video here. It's pretty easy to do, but it is a substantial savings. And I've said to people, don't quote me on this, although this is being broadcast publicly, 5%, somewhere right around there. It seems like we're getting a credit. Why would you not want to get your homeowner's exemption? And getting that credit going back again, all the way back 2022, 21, 2019, and 18. That's a big number of years that you can go back and file for that homeowner's exemption. So don't beat yourself up. A lot of us have moved in the last 5 to 7 years. you are going to want to click on this documentation required. Again, photo ID, something that's going to confirm your identity. If you don't have a scanner, you can take a picture of it on your phone. If you need help, your Exit Strategy Realty agent can help you with that. It's another great thing to put in your lifetime client portal that we have provided you. And then again, there's some other documents there as well saying that you had some occupancy there, a bank statement, a pay stub, a voting record. You can download those, some sort of document like that. And then there's also some frequently asked questions. There's a good amount of information right here. But again, if you go to cookcountyassessor.com, then you're going to go under the exemptions tab and you're going to click on homeowners exemption, and that's going to take you to the screen. And that's going to be where you look for your PIN. Now, if you don't have your PIN, and I see Travis, one of my clients, is on the Zoom right now. Travis, if you don't have your PIN, you can always just shoot me a text. And if you don't have your property portal set up, you can just go to, and again, I'm going to use myself as an example. You go to my Zen list, my Zen link, and scroll down to my Zen link, and I've got that lifetime client concierge portal. You can scan in your closing documents. If you don't have them, your Exit Strategy Realty agent, Travis, in your case, me, will have that for you. And I'd like you to start scanning those documents in there along with insurance forms and anything else. It's a really smart portal to have, and we'll talk another day about that client concierge portal. But that's the basis of all you got to do is get your PIN number and be in the property for at least 1 full year. So if you bought in 2023, can you file for 2023? No, you cannot. If you bought in 2022, can you file for 2023? Yes, you can. So moving forward every year. And if you bought in 2021, okay, then you can file the certificate of error for 2022 because that year has passed and you can get the credit back for that. You can at least file that certificate of error to request that credit back. It's not a guarantee, but I have gotten it, and so have most of the clients that I have consulted with on this. So that is the exemptions in Cook County. It does pretty much work the same way in the suburbs, with the exception of one thing. Cook County, it's one main portal. It's one main portal. cookcountyassessor.com, and then also cookcountytreasurer.com has some additional resources. It all funnels through the Cook County Assessor website and the Cook County Treasurer website as well. It funnels through the big portal. In the suburbs, it goes township by township. The township assessor has a big role in most of the suburban collar counties. So you're going to want to know who your township is, what your township is. There is actually your agent can find that out for you. You can find that out on your tax bill. So you need to find your PIN number. And again, your agent should have that for you. So your PIN number is very valuable to find your township in the suburbs. In the city or in Cook County in general, cookcountyassessor.com is where you go for that portal. In the suburbs, township by township, each township has their own forms, both for the homestead and the certificate of error going back the years prior. So that is homeowners exemptions, and that is the certificate of error for the past years prior. So I hope that made sense. I'm going to check real quick in the comments box to see if there's any questions. Please explain the senior freeze. So I'm actually not going to go too far into the senior freeze this evening because this is on homeowners exemptions tonight, homeowners exemptions specifically. However, David is our tax attorney on here, and David hopefully will be able to shed a little bit more light, Attorney Frank, on that, if you would be so kind. I'm going to go ahead and turn over the presenter role to you as well. And then let's talk a little bit more about the property tax and some of these property tax appeal process and some of these other questions as well.
Thanks, Nick. I appreciate it. I could quickly highlight the senior freeze, though, for Beverly. Since it's a very quick discussion, let me share my screen, and hopefully this will be helpful. All right. So the senior freeze is what's the best way to put it? The senior freeze is about the third level of exemptions. And just to quickly walk you through it, I'm going to take you to the Cook County Treasurer's page. And it really is pretty simple. The senior freeze is you have a homeowner's exemption, like Nick just walked you through. Not only do you have a homeowner's exemption, you actually have the senior homeowner's exemption, which means you live in your property plus you're 65 or older. But in addition, the senior citizen freeze exemption is an exemption that freezes your assessed valuation, meaning during periods of reassessment with Cook County cannot change your assessed valuation. Your assessed valuation is frozen, leading to even more savings for you. However, in order to qualify for that, you need to prove to Cook County that you make less than $65,000 of income during the course of a year. Now, $65,000 is every conceivable penny you bring in, whether it's by pension, Social Security, what have you. Any sort of income you receive is counted towards that $65,000. If you can prove that you make less than $65,000 and you live there and you're 65 plus, you can qualify for the senior citizen freeze exemption. I don't know if that made sense, but that is exactly what it is. And if you have a little bit more time, you can read this, if you can see it, on the Cook County Treasurer's website. It'll walk you through what the exemption is and if you qualify for it. The form is a little complicated, and the reason it's complicated is it literally asks every conceivable piece of income you could ever think of receiving. It asks you, are you receiving it? And so long as you're 65,000 or less, you do apply. So hopefully that answers your question. I'll go into Cook County tax appeals because I think it's interesting. And one other thing I will shed on that Nick highlighted, Cook County has a way of robbing you. So what happens in Cook County? You file a deed. The minute you file a deed, you sell Jane Doe to Joe Doe. Joe Doe loses all of Jane Doe's exemptions. They're gone. They're wiped off the face of the earth. And just like Nick said, you can only file those exemptions after you've lived in the property for a full calendar year. Meaning, if you buy in 2012, you have to live there the entire calendar year of 2013 before you can even file in 2024 for 23. So it's very confusing. Many people forget about it, and we're real estate attorneys. We actually set up reminders that are 18, 24 months in advance, just so people remember to file them. In the collar counties, DePage, Kane, Lake, Will, etc., they all go by the P-tax. So if you say on the P-tax that you're intending to live there, the exemption automatically applies. You don't have to apply for it like Cook makes you do. So it is kind of annoying, and it is kind of a scam that Cook's running. But if you follow it and you stay on top of it, you can file it. Let's talk about filing for your property taxes and appealing them. I'm going to go to the same website that Nick was just at, but I'm going to go to a little bit of a different section. This one is called, under the appeals tab, under the appeals tab, it's in the calendars and deadlines. Every single property in Cook County has a township that you belong to. That does not mean the town you live in. Two totally separate things. This is the township that you live on. So the first question someone's going to have is, well, I don't know what township I live in. how would I know what township I live in? Let me show you quickly how to do it. In order to figure out what township you live on, we are going to go, if I can find this, into a particular tax bill. Let's take your PIN number. Sorry for all my open tabs. And we are going to simply do the same thing Nick did. We're going to enter that PIN. We're going to certify that we're not a robot. And when the property details come up, you're going to see this particular township is North Chicago. Now, if you lived at this property, you would probably be confused and you think you're in Chicago Township. No, you're in North Chicago Township. So let's find out when you can appeal in North Chicago Township. Again, we're going to go into appeals, calendar and deadlines, and you can literally scroll down. Now, the way Cook County organizes it is the city of Chicago is broken down into a bunch of different districts. You can see that North Chicago is right here, and we can click on details. So for North Chicago to appeal your 2023 taxes, which are going to be due and payable this year in 24, remember taxes are billed 1 year in arrears, you had a file with the township October 4th, and your last file date was November 6th. So you only had 32 days to file with your township. You should be getting a piece of mail in the mail from the township indicating that it's time to appeal. If you're lucky, you hit that township deadline. Now, what do you do to file? Well, you could employ a tax attorney like I am to appeal your taxes, or you could do it yourself. You could literally go online and find your comparables and appeal yourself. You literally have to go through the list of comparable properties. You try to match up, a house or a condo that has the same amount of bedrooms, the same amount of bathrooms, the same kind of comparable square footage, and then hopefully in the same neighborhood, of course. And you try to figure out, has there been anyone in your area that has the same sort of fact pattern that your house has, that's assessed at a lower value than yours? And that's called a lack of uniformity. Lack of uniformity means Cook County isn't taxing fairly. They're taxing someone who has a very similar house to yours at a lower rate than yours. That's called a lack of uniformity argument. You could also, of course, get an appraisal, and you could file a market value analysis. You could say, hey, Cook County is assessing my property like it's a $500,000 home. I have an appraisal here, Mr. Cook County Assessor, that shows my house is worth $400,000. That's another way you can make an argument. There's a variety of ways you can make arguments to lower your assessed valuation. That's at the township level. You then have another bite of the apple in Cook County, and that's called the Board of Review. Now, the Board of Review are here. You can see for this particular township, North Chicago, they opened last year from December 28th, right during Christmas break, through January 26th. So you have another, this one's even less, 28-day window to file with the Board of Review. Now, you're making some of the very same arguments you're making at the township level at the Board of Review. In 1 year, you could appeal at the township level, win, go to the Board of Review, win again, and get an even lower assessed valuation when your tax bill comes out. That's possible. We have many clients who lose at the township, appeal at the Board of Review, and win. You still win, you lower your bill. We've had clients who appeal at the assessor's level, appeal at the Board of Review, lose both, and they don't win. They don't get any relief on their tax bill. And again, we've had clients that win at both levels. The key is to get both bites of the apple. Now, usually people think to themselves, well, I'm going to appeal my taxes every year. I want to appeal my taxes every single year. And you can. There's no harm in doing so. However, it's not realistic that you're going to win every year. And here's why. In Cook County, They only reassess your property once every 3 years. That's called the triennial reassessment. If you live in Chicago, this is an area of reassessment this year. The 2024 taxes payable in 2025 are being reassessed. So it's a very smart time if you live in the city to appeal your taxes, because this is the year Cook is coming out and reassessing you. It's a perfect time to do that. You might even think about, if you live in the city, appealing in 25 if you didn't win or you didn't win enough in 24. But by the time 26 comes about, they're not reassessing you again. You've already appealed in 24 and 25. There's not much need to appeal in 26. Now, you will appeal in 27 because that triennial is going to come up again, and it's time to reappeal. Some people just like to appeal every single year. They figure even if they get a couple shekels off, it's worth it. And that's fine. You can. It's just a lot of work. You know, it does take some work to research the comparable properties to figure out what's the best example that you can provide to Cook County for lack of uniformity. There's very few people who can actually find an appraisal that shows their property is worth less than what Cook has it assessed for. It's a very rare argument. So that's basically in a nutshell how Cook County works. And if you ever have any questions as to when your township is being assessed, it's all right here. Every single township has an assessment schedule that is released. Now, we don't know, unfortunately, what 2024 is yet. As you can see, the only thing on this page is the 2023 assessors assessment. And most of them are closed for appeals. Why? Because we're obviously into 24, and there's not much that's open at all. As we scroll through here, you can see every single township is closed for appeals. So we're waiting for 24 to open. Now, your first question might be, well, when will my township open? It's almost impossible to determine. What you really have to do is go back in to see when did last year's open. If you live in North Chicago, you can probably guess it's going to open about the same time as last year. I would start checking on this website in late August to see when North Chicago is going to open. You're also going to get something in the mail, but you should probably start getting prepared around late August. That way you can hit the township, and then you can have an attorney hit the board of review. And you can do all this yourself. Now, what Nick was talking about earlier are your exemptions. So I want to talk about what an appeal actually does. So in order to understand what an appeal actually does, let's look quickly, if I've got time, Nick, at a tax bill and what a tax bill does and how it's determined. So let's look at this hypothetical example and how the assessed valuation can actually affect your tax bill. This is the value that we're talking about. This 79,600 figure is the assessed valuation that you can appeal. If you lower it, it's going to lower your taxes. Every year there's a state equalizer that comes out. It applies to every single bill throughout the entire state of Illinois. This one happened to be 2.9237. They take your assessed value, they multiply it by that equalizer, and that gives you what's called your equalized assessed value. Then your local tax rate is determined. Everyone has a local tax rate. Every township has a local tax rate. This particular township, it's the township of North Chicago, had a tax rate in 2022 of 7.035%. And then it's really as simple as taking your equalized assessed value, timesing it by your local tax rate to find out what your tax bill will be. Now, what Nick was intelligently talking about was how to lower that number even more. And that's where the homeowners exemption comes into play. That's where the senior citizen exemption comes into play. That's where the senior freeze comes into play. And there's even further exemptions. You can get a disabled veterans exemption, a returning veterans exemption. There's a bunch of veterans exemptions that if you are a veteran, you should probably get online and research it. But really what an appeal does, the only thing the appeal does is it affects this number. But as you can see, this number is literally everything. If you lower that number, your tax bill will lower, your payments will lower, and then basically that's how you appeal and win your tax bill. And the key in Cook County is to take both bites of the apple each year, both at the township and at the board of review, to do the best job you can to lower that number so you can pay as little in taxes as humanly possible. And then, of course, as Nick walked you through, get all the available exemptions. There's no reason anyone on this call or watching should be paying Cook County more than they're justly reserved. So that's my presentation in a nutshell. And if you have any questions, I can certainly take them.
Questions from the audience?
Okay.
Well, guys, thank you very much for being here tonight. I want to encourage you to talk to David. David, how do people get a hold of you if they want to talk to you a little bit further?
I am going to leave my email in the chat box, but if you're watching live, it's david@frankesq.com. That's david@frankesq.com. I just left it in the chat box as well. Feel free to email me and I could, take a look at your tax bill and tell you anything you need to know. Most of the time, your realtor, believe it or not, will have more information on your market value than anyone else. And 99 times out of 100, I know it's hard to believe, most properties are assessed lower than their market value. So the chances that you're going to win an appeal based on the appraised value of your property are very slim. You actually have to argue uniformity. You have to argue, hey, Mr. Neighbor over here is being charged less than me, charge me less. That's usually the argument we go to. Sometimes, occasionally, the assessed valuation is higher than your market value. It's very, very rare. It's mostly a lack of uniformity argument.
Nice. All right, so guys, you have David's contact information. I want to encourage you also to check out your Exit Strategy Realty agents page, their Zen list, Zen link. That's going to give you access to more properties than anywhere else. On average, in most of the Chicago neighborhoods right now, between 8 to 12% of the properties out there are what we call shadow inventory, private listing network, or preview listings not showing up on Zillow, Redfin, or Realtor.com or Homes.com, which means they are available only to people that have this special app or the private listing network. So get this app from your Exit Strategy Realty agent. It's a very special feature that we have, along with our consumer events like tonight. We have realtor training events coming up. We also have your lifetime client concierge portal. So if you are watching this later saying, I really would love a copy of my closing statement and I can't find where I put it, your Exit Strategy Realty agent will have it for you. And even if you were not our client when you bought your property, we would love to be your agent now in the future. We have a lot of great things going on. You can always text difference to the number 85377. Again, that's difference to the number 85377. You'll hear a little bit more about all the different things like these consumer education series. We have a property tax resource portal on our a website, exitstrategymovesyou.com. That's also where you'll find all of our events. And we've got all kinds of other neat things coming up for you in the near future. Stay tuned, talk to your Exit Strategy Realty agent, and thank you for being our clients and friends. Good night.